Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 254 of the Juicebox Podcast. In today's episode, I will be speaking with 19-year-old Caroline, who has had type 1 diabetes since she was 16 months old. This girl is absolutely one of a kind. The episode you're listening to today is sponsored by Omnipod, Dexcom, and Dancing for Diabetes. You can go to myomnipod.com/juicebox. Dexcom.com/juicebox or dancing4diabetes.com for more information. There are also links in your show notes and at juiceboxpodcast.com. I don't want to give anything away from this episode, so there's no lead up to it at all. Just get in there and listen. While you're doing that, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your medical plan or becoming bold with insulin.
My name is Caroline Woolard. I've been a diabetic since I was 16 months old. I'm now 19 years old, and I'm a freshman at Erskine College. I have been using the Omnipod since I was 12, and I've had a service dog for the past 2 years.
And I'm seeing the service dog in your picture. Is it him or her?
Him. His name is Teddy.
Teddy. Is he a golden retriever?
He's a yellow lab.
Oh, a yellow lab. Very nice.
Yes.
My picture is fuzzy. Or my understanding of dogs is fuzzy. It's one or the other.
Picture's really small.
No, it's me. Trust me. Caroline's 16 months old. That's pretty crazy. So hold on. You're a freshman in college. I'm going to make you 19 in my head. So I'm going to say you were like a year and a half old when you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
Right? Look at me.
Yes. Today is actually my 18th diversary.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
We've never done this before. There should be a sound effect. There's no sound effect, Caroline. I'm sorry. But so this is literally the date that you
the date.
Wow, wait a minute. I don't know what to do about that. So let me figure out the date. March 6th.
Yes.
We're recording this in 2019. And you were diagnosed what year?
2001.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never know what to say about that. Congratulating you seems like saying, hey, good job, not like, falling apart.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Right? And there's part of you that wants to go, oh, I'm so sorry. It's been that long. And you don't really know how to answer something like that. But you're a person who celebrates the anniversary?
Kinda. I've had friends who've been like, oh, we should celebrate. I never started until I was in high school. And it's just been like, oh, yay. But nothing, like I don't throw a party or anything like that.
I hear you. I don't 100% know the day Arden was diagnosed. And sometimes my wife will bring it up and I say, is that today? And she's like, yeah. It's like, I remember it being like in August or something. So, well, good for you. That's really amazing. I want to go back to that time a little bit and find out, are you from a 2-parent household?
I am. Yes, I'm an identical twin, and my older sisters are identical twins, and I also have an older brother.
Wow.
And nobody else has it.
Okay. Well, you went right to the diabetes part. Here's the part I want to know. The first time your parents tried to make a baby, did one baby come out or 2 babies come out?
2.
Why would they ever do it again? Do you think?
My mom really loves children.
No kidding. Now, here you go. Yeah. The second time your mom and dad had a baby, 1 baby came out or 2 babies came out?
1, but they thought it might be twins.
Do you think they were like let down when they found out it wasn't twins?
I don't think so. It was the boy, and he's a handful, so probably not.
Good thing there's one of him. Okay. Yeah. And so then they were like, we're going to do this one more time.
Yes.
Which, I mean, at this point, though, hold on a second. Are you the first set of twins or the last set of twins?
Last set of twins.
So if they weren't like amorous and hardworking, you really would have been the end. Because trust me, if I was your parents, you wouldn't exist. Because after the first time, I'd be like, hey, listen, we've obviously made a mistake, and let's stop this. But this is very cool. So they get pregnant a third time.
Yes.
Have another set of twins. It's you and your sister.
Yes.
And you both sets of twins in your family are identical.
Yes.
That's crazy. Does your dad work like 29 hours a day?
probably tell you that, yes.
Does he do that to make money to send you all to college or to avoid being around a house where there are 5 children, I wonder?
It's probably a bit of both, honestly. But no,
I'm sure he's a delightful man. If he's listening to this, sir, you sound like you're a hardworking guy. So your first set, how much older is the first set than you?
They're 11 years older than we are.
Oh, my God. Your parents are Catholic.
No.
No? Are you Mormon? I don't understand. You're not Mormon, are you?
No, we're Presbyterian.
Presbyterians do this too? Unbelievable. I had no idea. So, excellent. For the record, I've assumed Presbyterians also have children. But that's not what I was saying. Okay, so, wow. Let me wrap my head around this. So you're a freshman in college. I'm assuming it's possible that your older set of twin siblings have children of their own.
No, they do not.
Good for them. They learned their lesson growing up in your house is what I'm thinking. Right, okay. But they could. They're old enough that they could have, right?
Yes. They're, all 3 of my older siblings are married. My older sisters are 30. So. Nice.
Well, listen, it sounds like they're putting me first, which is something I sometimes wish I would have done in my life. So, okay. All right. So you're diagnosed. There's no other diabetes out of the 5 of you or your parents or extended family anywhere?
Right. No, nobody.
Wow, you really are just lucky, huh?
Oh,
by the way, do you know the odds of being an identical twin?
No, I do not. I know they're not very big.
Here's what I'm going to find out, and I will plug the information in later. And I never give myself work on the podcast, but today I'm going to. I'm even going to write it down because of my bad memory. Odds of being twins, identical. Odds of having type 1 diabetes. You might be like the ultimate bad lottery winner, Carol.
Oh, yeah, I go to a diabetes camp every summer, and you would not imagine how many twins there are that are identical, and one of them is diabetic and the other one's not.
Super interesting. Google tells me that for the average American, the chance of developing type 1 diabetes by age 70 is 1 in 100 or 1%. In the general population, identical twin pregnancies occur 0.45% of the time, or once in every 250 births. Now, my common sense tells me that visiting dancingfordiabetes.com 100% of the time makes you happy. Finding them on Facebook or Instagram doubles that response. Do you think and I won't ask you to put yourself in your sister's head too much, but do you think that she's feels guilty that you have it and she doesn't? Or do you think she's like secretly like, whew, I like dodged a bullet there? Like, do you guys ever talk about that?
I don't know. We never really talked about it. I hope she doesn't feel guilty. That'd kind of stink. And I mean, I'd hope she wouldn't be gloating about it, but I don't know.
Running around behind your back like, oh my God, I dodged such a bullet. Well, like I do wonder how much of that, the idea of survivor's guilt might I don't know. Well, we'll figure that out later.
I'm very happy that I'm the one who got it. Like, I wouldn't want anybody else in my family to have it. Like, I'm glad it was me and not them. So.
Why are you so nice? How were you brought up? What happened?
Oh, I don't know. I have a great mom.
No kidding. Wow. I mean, I guess she's got to be a great mom since your dad's never home because he's always working. So, but seriously, that's a really wonderful thing to say. That you're glad it's not them.
Yeah.
I don't know how kind I would have been at your age if something like this was going on in my life and someone's like, do you wish it was your brother? I might be like, yeah, I mean, one of them, not the other one, but I would never say which one.
Yeah, no, she's actually a collegiate athlete, so I would not wish that on her.
No kidding. What sport?
Cross country and track.
Wow. That's a lot of running.
It is.
I don't have the running gene. I start running and I'm immediately reminded I shouldn't be running.
Yeah, I ran throughout middle school and high school, but I did not pursue that collegiately.
I hear you. What are you going to school for?
I'm a biology and history major, but I want to be a doctor. I want to be a neonatologist.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I feel like we're going to learn a lot here, Caroline. Okay, let's get started. Which parent had the energy to take care of you when you were diagnosed? I guess is the question. Who did it fall to?
My mom. She was a stay-at-home mom, so she took care of me.
Okay. And do you remember what's your first memory of diabetes? How old were you, do you think?
I don't think I have a specific memory, but our kitchen is like semi-connected to my parents' bedroom, and so I would always run and jump on the bed and stick out my leg, and she would give me the shot right before dinner, and then we would walk in and have dinner. So that's kind of like my earliest diabetes memory. I mean, I have memories from like kindergarten where when I was diagnosed, I went on like the ratio to where I had 45 carbs at breakfast, 45 at lunch, 45 at dinner, and that was it. And I had 2 shots a day.
That stinks. Yeah.
So I had like that regimen thing. And so I couldn't share my food. And I would always want to because I like sharing things because I'm a twin. So I had to share everything.
Right.
And so I also had to eat at certain times, and it wasn't the same time that my class ate. So my mom would come to the classroom and bring me my lunch and make sure I didn't share it.
Oh.
But I ate all of it.
She would actually have to stop you from being kind to other people?
Yeah, I couldn't be that kind.
You couldn't do that. You know what? I'm interested about the design of your house. It makes me feel like your parents realized that your mom was either going to be hungry from sex or from being pregnant, so they put the kitchen near their bedroom.
I don't know about that.
Can you find out about that for me and get back to me later if that was a design?
Maybe.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe. You're like, no, buddy. I'm already regretting doing this podcast.
I'm not. I am home alone, so I cannot ask them right now.
That's very cool. Okay, so you want to be a doctor. That's
yes,
amazing.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you manage with nowadays? So you were doing ratios back then. And for people who are listening to this, whose kids were diagnosed like 5 minutes ago or they're like ratios. They used to give people, like regular, is that what you were on, regular and MPH?
Yes.
Yeah. This older insulin that was sort of like I don't know how to put it exactly, but it just sort of gave you like a blanket of insulin all day. And so if you injected it at a certain time, ate at a certain time, ate a certain amount of food, that was pretty much the protocol. When did you stop doing that? Do you know?
I was 12. I was on the same ratio from when I was 16 months as to when I was 12.
Oh my God. At any point did you become murderous and angry?
No, I really didn't. I was fine with it. The only reason I went into the pump was because I was starting cross country. It didn't bother me. That was just how my life was. I was hungry a lot. I ate a lot of celery.
Wow, Caroline. Way to get the title of the episode right away. I ate a lot of celery. Caroline, I very frequently find myself interviewing people that I think, these people are better than my kids. I wish I could switch them. So you, as hungry as you were, didn't rebel. You weren't like sneaking food. You just went with the program. Yeah,
I did. I would run laps around the house. My mom is an amazing baker, and she would bake cookies all the time. And so one of her chocolate chip cookies is 15 carbs, and I ran like 5 laps around the house, and then I could eat a cookie. Or I would run up and down the steps. We got a mini trampoline for me. If my blood sugar was high, I could jump on the trampoline, and I would do that if I wanted a cookie or something too.
So no joke, you would go jump on a trampoline, run around the house, something to that effect, and then we'll go to your mom and be like, hey, I've done my jumping. Where are the cookies?
Yes, I would.
And that would keep everything within reason. Now, I do want to know if you know, and you might not, what does in reason mean? Like, what were your A1Cs? Like, did you...
I've never had an A1C above 7, 8.
Jeez.
In my entire life.
Do you know about your variability? Because I'm sure you're more aware of that now than you were then.
Yes. So I know when I was little and my mom was completely in control of me, I had A1Cs in the 5s, and my doctor told my mom that she was being too tight on me and that I should live my life a little bit. So
were you not, or was that just his or her assumption based on?
I think that was his assumption. I love that doctor. He moved to like Maine or something right around the time I got my pump. But yeah, he was funny. I loved him. But so I loosened up a little bit. Around the time I hit puberty, I had been in the 6s constantly, and I jumped up to around the 7s, mid 7s, and then I've been anywhere between 7.6 and 6.9 for the past 5 years or so.
I don't want to be the one to break this to you, but if that doctor moved to Maine, he's either frozen to death or been killed by a caribou by now. So he's no longer with us.
I do write him, so I know he's not frozen.
Caroline, are you trying to be the best, most nicest person ever to come on this podcast? Because we're not even 15 minutes into this. I mean, by the time I put the ads in, that'll be 15 minutes. But we're 15 minutes into this, and you are, hold on, did not buck a system of food consumption that did not sound fun. Had to exercise to eat a cookie, which, by the way, I'm thinking we should all exercise to eat a cookie. But just the point, I'm actually thinking now, I had a cookie yesterday. Probably would have been a good idea to run up and down the steps once or twice before I did it. You write your endo.
He was so kind.
No, I'm not done listing your stuff yet. Hold on a second. You're happy that you have diabetes and not the other people in your family.
Yes.
And have you ever murdered anybody and this is your repentance? Like this, like what have you done? Name the worst thing you've ever done right now that you're willing to share with us.
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you
really
know that 53 things just popped in my head that I've done? I was like, oh, I wouldn't even know where to begin to start. I once made a hall aide cry in high school. That's like the least of the things I've done. There's not one thing. Are you sure?
I'm sure my siblings could tell you something.
I know that would be their complaints about you. I'm saying something that you've done and then when it was over, you're like, wow, I regret that.
I really don't know.
Caroline, you're perfect. This is wonderful.
No, I'm not.
Do you know that about yourself? Or where do you live? Can you tell me like the state?
Camden, South Carolina.
Wow, the southern thing. I get it. Okay. All right. Extra nice. All right. I don't know what to do with any of this information. You've fried my mind. So we're going to have to go back to the diabetes stuff.
Okay.
Geez, seriously. So you went on a pump to run cross country.
Yes.
You made me dizzy. How am I going to name this episode? I ate celery a lot if you're going to end up like, all right, I'm going to have to, give me a second. I'm going to put an ad here. We use the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor in this house, and it's not just to stop a low, right? I don't just see it as an alarm. The Dexcom is really for us more to understand how the insulin's working in Arden's body and finding the exact right time and amount that she needs to keep blood sugars from spiking, falling too far. The information we get from Dexcom helps us stop meals from overpowering her insulin. It's really so much more than just an alarm that goes off when your blood sugar gets too low. What I'm about to share with you are personal results, and yours may vary, but my daughter's A1C has been between 5.2 and 6.2 for over 5 years now, with absolutely no food restrictions. In my mind, a lot of the credit for that goes to the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. The trends that I'm able to see, being able to decipher the impact insulin's having on some meals over others, this stuff is where the decision making really happens. So yes, I love that the Dexcom will tell me if my daughter's blood sugar is getting too low or getting too high. I love that I can see her blood sugar while she's at school or with a friend. That's all terrific. But there's more there. You can use it for just those things, those surface ideas, which are still pretty amazing, or you can dig deeper and find some of the answers to the things that have been confusing you about type 1 diabetes. Hey, here's some exciting news for Walgreens customers. Dexcom is now in a partnership with Walgreens. So if you use the Walgreens Find Care or the Care Connect programs, you'll be able to get information right there about Dexcom CGM and an order form. Of course, I'd prefer if you went to dexcom.com/juicebox, but whatever's easier for you. At 12 years old, you switched to a pump to run cross country. What made that seem necessary?
I went, like I said, I went to a diabetes camp earlier, and I fell in love with how the Omnipod worked. It looked like a lot of freedom. And I had a senior member on the cross country team who was on a Medtronic, and I saw how much easier it was than shots to handle. Mm-hmm. But I also saw that she had to disconnect before races and things, and I didn't want to be without insulin for a race because I get adrenaline rushes, so I knew I'd be high.
Caroline, you're my favorort person. This is so great. Look at you even doing the exercise right. Look at you. Okay. So you saw the Omnipod at a camp, like a camper was wearing it, or there was somebody there hawking it? Which was it?
Camper was wearing it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we had people there I actually got to do a trial Omnipod at camp.
Oh, okay. Like you were the demo pod.
Yes, I did.
By the way, they're not calling it the demo pod anymore.
What are they calling it?
Hold on a second. Ready? Hold on. myomnipod.com/juicebox. This is not an ad. I really want to know what this is. Hold on a second. They're calling it the something, the PEK, the Pod Experience Kit.
That's interesting.
It's much more fancy of a box.
Yes.
The box has a picture of the dash on it now, not of a PDM. Okay, so the pod. So now you were a demo pod.
I did.
Yeah, let's talk like old timey Omnipodders.
Yes.
And you just then and there, you were like, "This is good. I like this."
Yeah, so I'm really big on pro-cons lists. My dad's an engineer, and so he's very practical. So I make pros and cons charts for everything I do. So I made one for the Omnipod, and so it wasn't like then and there after camp that I started. It was a couple years later, and like I said, I was starting cross country, and that was a big pro on that one.
Yeah.
So
I would love to see your parents' pro-con list on the third time they had a baby. Con, no more money.
Yeah.
Con, have to find energy to have sex again because we have 3 kids. I'm sorry if this is making you uncomfortable.
It's okay.
So you have a service dog. How long have you had a service dog?
About 2 years.
And he is for your blood sugar?
Yes.
Interesting. How do you find that?
Very interesting. I thought I knew what I was getting into. I really didn't at all. Having a dog with you 24/7 is really fun, but it's a lot of work as well. But I got him right before I went to college so that my parents would have peace of mind with me, like sleeping, and because I tend to drop a lot in my sleep, and I don't wake up to it because I've had diabetes for 18 years. I've just kind of become normalized with the symptoms and stuff, and I can't tell as much when I drop low.
Plus, you're asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be able to wake myself up, no problem, and I can't really do that anymore.
Wow,
So
one of your superpowers has gone away, Caroline. How's it feel to be mortal?
Oh, I know. So Teddy will wake me up in my sleep now.
That is, and how frequently does that happen?
Not as frequently anymore. I've kind of tweaked my basal rate a lot at night to where I don't drop as low. But it's happened a good bit of times. He pushed me out of bed one morning because I didn't get up because I didn't want to wake. I knew my alarm was going off in 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm sleeping for 10 minutes.
Right.
My blood sugar can wait. And he pushed me out of my bed, and I was like, okay, I'll check. But
one of my dogs does that, but it's because he's threatening to crap on the floor if I don't take him outside. It's not over anything medical or altruistic like that. How is that having a dog are you in a dorm?
I am. I have a roommate.
Okay.
Yes. It's interesting. We have a bigger dorm. We have a corner room, like right by the kitchen, because of Teddy. We got priority on like the bigger sized dorms. It's still quite small, but it's really, I don't think any much different than living with another person.
Your roommate's pretty cool with it?
Oh yeah, she loves Teddy.
Oh, wow.
There's so many pictures of like him sitting in her lap and things like that.
Is this because she got a bigger room you think she likes him, or you think she likes him because of him?
Probably because of him. He's very fun-loving.
No kid. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at Arden's blood sugar. It's 11:22 here. It's about an hour since we bolused for her lunch, and there's part of me that thinks it's going to need a little bump in a second, and part of me that wants to go with it. So we had let me try to suss this out for you. Around 8:45 a.m. This is her early lunch day. She eats at like we bolus at like 10:20.
Okay.
But anyway, around 8:45, she was like drifting lower, and I'm like, this is gonna get low. So we killed her basal for a half an hour, which held her blood sugar at like 89 for like from like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock into going into like 10:20 when we bolused. But I could see her starting to drift back again the other way. So I did a temp basal increase of 40% for an hour and a half. And then I think we bolused 12 and a half units. But instead of, I needed to extend it a little bit, but instead of the way I normally would, if her blood sugar was 89, I would normally put in like half and then do the other half over an hour or something like that, or, something like that. But instead I only put in 30%, but then I put the rest in over a half an hour because I thought with the deficit of the basal from 8:45 to 9:45, I thought the food might end up getting a jump on her. She's got like a banana. She's got a banana, a half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a few chips, grapes, a hard-boiled egg, something else. Maybe a Milano cookie or something like that in there, or some peaches. I don't know exactly. I can't remember anymore. But I remember feeling like it was going to hit her pretty hard, fast. So anyway, at the moment we're 106. Yeah, it's been an hour. I think 106 is good, but if there's going to be a drift, in my experience, the drift is going to happen very soon.
Okay.
Does Teddy tell you when you're low, or does he tell you when you're high as well?
He does high. He does trends mainly. So he doesn't do. He kind of does. His range is 80 to 120, so he'll alert any time out of that range.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll also, if I'm dropping really quick or rising really quick, he'll alert me to that.
Nice. He's got rise and fall alerts like the Dexcom.
Yes.
That's nice. Do you have a CGM?
No. My pro-con list was for a dog or for a Dexcom, and dog won out.
Because the dog was...
Cute.
Cute? Is that really what happened?
No. The dog was less expensive. I thought he would be more reliable, more long-lasting. Honestly, I went to camp, and I was not impressed with Dexcom. So, but I've heard great things. I honestly kind of think it's like north-south thing, because all the northerners that I've talked to love it. All the southerners don't. So I don't know what's up with that.
Well, that's odd.
That's just the trend I've noticed.
I'm going to keep track of something like that. So I'll break it down for a second. People that you've met from the north
mainly have better like results with the Dexcom.
With a CGM, right? With a Dexcom, right? Or a CGM. And in the south they have better, which I'm sure there's English involved in there somewhere that I could have used, but worse results with a CGM. Now, that doesn't make any sense. So let's try to break that down.
What I've noticed, I don't know if it's a temperature thing or something like that, but that's just all I've noticed with that.
Super interesting. I liked listening to you talk about Teddy like he wasn't alive for a second. You're like, I thought he had more longevity possibilities. That's really funny. Do you feel any sadness at all that you've made Teddy your slave? I'm just kidding.
No.
Does he ever look at you and go, I don't want to pay attention to your blood sugar today, Caroline. Please let me go.
The amount that he sleeps, I do not feel bad at all. You should see in my classrooms, he just curls up under my desk and sleeps the whole day.
That's insane.
He's got it made, I think. It's tennis balls and sleep for him. So.
How many years have you been with him?
2.
How sustainable do you think it is through a lifetime?
I don't know. I haven't seen any changes in him so far, and the people that I do know that like from his company that have them for a while, it's good. This sounds like really morbid, but he has a 10-year warranty. So that sounds awful. Every time I say it, I just don't want to say it.
I hear what you're saying, but but you're getting the information out. I appreciate that. Yes.
So he should be working for 10 years. It's his sense of smell, and that can go with age. Mm-hmm. So I would say 10 years.
Now, what about your lifetime? What do you think about that? Like, do you see yourself 30, 40, 50, 60 years old with a service dog?
No.
Okay. What do you think will change?
Hopefully technology. I've been hoping for a cure since I was like 16 months. I remember in elementary school, I was told that it was 2008. And I remember they said, in 4 years, there'll be a cure. And I was like, yes, 2012. Like, I won't be a teenager and diabetic. And so that didn't work out, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping that in the next decade, technology will have advanced enough to where I will be able to trust a CGM more, or there'll be like a bionic pancreas or something like that.
Okay, so that's all. That is really interesting. So I'll tell you that, I hope I don't bum people out, but I don't live like there's going to be a cure. I hope for one, and I genuinely hope for one. But my kind of in the moment desire is for technology to continue to improve, for insulin to continue to improve, that kind of.
Yeah, I don't go day to day like, oh, there's going to be a cure. Like, I don't really do that.
You don't think about it on a daily basis. Do you think your mom does?
I don't know. I remember the first endocrinologist that I was talking about, I remember him telling my mom that there won't be a cure in her lifetime, but there might be in mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I was having this conversation with somebody last night through messaging, mm-hmm. and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but as a race, as a society, human beings haven't really cured many diseases.
No, not really.
Yeah, and so we've eradicated some things through vaccines.
Yes.
But we haven't, to date yet, we haven't been like, oh, remember cancer? That old chestnut, that's gone. Like not only do people not die from it anymore, they don't even get it. Like that would be a cure, right? If no one ever got cancer again, we have cured cancer somehow.
Right.
Same thing with diabetes. If you're saying you're going to cure it, what does that mean to you? Does that mean that if you're diagnosed with it, that someone gives you the diabetes pill and it goes away again? Does it mean that people don't get diabetes anymore? Like what does a cure mean, right? I guess that probably means different things for different people. For me, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that in my heart, I know how Arden's health is using a glucose monitor, right? And so if the marriage of, Arden's Omnipod with her Dexcom, which appears to be coming in the next year somehow, right? I'm thinking through Tide Pool first before Omnipod even gets out their Horizon system, is my sort of hope. If that marriage keeps her blood sugar from getting dangerously low overnight, creates a world where we can sleep a little more soundly for longer, and her A1C stays in a reasonable range, I'm going to take that as a win for now.
Yes.
And so, but it sounds like you want that too, but at the same time, you were dissuaded from it, but were you only dissuaded from it because people from warm weather places don't seem to like it as much?
I have trust issues with technology a little bit.
Now we're getting to it. Go ahead.
The first time I got Omnipod, like the first couple of years, it wasn't a mini yet, and the old one had several quirks, and I have their helpline memorized, their phone number, just because calling so much with problems, and I just didn't
from the old pods, the bigger ones.
And I still have problems with the mini ones, not as many, but I still have to call them.
What kind of problems? Because I have problems with insulin pumps once in a while too, and problems with CGMs too. I expect that to be part of the game. It sounds like that's the part of the game you don't want to be involved in.
I don't want to be involved with that. Okay. They would just stop working. Like I would just get alarms that they would stop working. It would just say pod expired like on day one. It was really strange. I've had some with the minis, like with sweaters that I've worn. The static electricity has killed them.
Yeah, I see that. My best guess is once or twice a year, like you can get like a static pod. Yeah. Right. And so
I had it.
Good.
Yeah, I had 1 week. It happened twice, and I was just like, this is enough. But yeah, I just don't like that. I would, if I'm using the technology, I'd appreciate it to work a lot of the time, and it works most of the time. And I would definitely prefer Omnipod than anything else. But.
Okay. So now I would say, and I don't feel. Hold on, I'm going to tell Arden to bolus. She's 112 now. People are like, oh, shut up. You went from 106 to 112, and you're like bolus. But I'm seeing I have an inclination that something is happening here, so I'm just going to do a little 0.6. Although I said 6, so she'll be dead in a minute. Why don't I send another one that says 0.6? Yeah, 6, and she'll be gone in about. Now she's saying what? Bolus 0.6. Because I said bolus 6, bolus 0.6, and then her what? That what is so. It cuts right through me when it comes through text messages. I infer so much anger into what, which is unrealistic, by the way. She probably just means, wait, what are you talking about? But anyway, so I would tell you that what Omnipod would tell you and have told me and other people is that if you were around too much static electricity and that pod shut off, that is the pod working correctly because something happened to affect its internal circuitry and it doesn't want to make a mistake giving you insulin. So it says, look, I've been compromised. We're going to stop this now. But what you mean, if I can speak for you for a second, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, is you want technology that's seamless. And you just, and you want it to work. And I think that about most of the technology in my life. There are things I will not move up to until it just works. I don't want to spend time diagnosing things and that sort of thing. It is only with the diabetes technology where I sort of add a little bit of air and I say to myself, okay, the good outweighs the bad for me. But for you, it didn't in the idea of getting a glucose monitor. So it's very important for people to do what is going to be I mean, I think the best for them as far as their day-to-day life.
Yes.
Now, if you and Teddy were like rolling along, and what's your A1C now? Will you tell me?
7.2, I believe.
All right, cool. That's amazing. And so, but if you and Teddy were rolling along and your A1C was 10.2, would you go, oh, geez, maybe I got to put up with technology?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it's that you're finding success that you're like, I don't need this thing right now. I'm doing fine without it. That's amazing. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Do you have any idea about there's this thing that, people who use glucose monitors talk about standard deviation all the time, like how much, how much difference is between my highs and my lows. Am I steady all day? Like if you have a 7.2, what does that mean? Like if your blood sugar was constantly stable, I guess it would be stable around 135 or 140 maybe, right?
Yeah.
But it's probably not like that.
No, it's not. I know a bit about standard deviation. I have an app called My Sugar, I believe, and I think it's My Sugar. And I don't use it religiously just because I'm honestly not technologically savvy. I can't handle too much technology in one day. So I do know a little bit about standard deviation of the blood sugars and stuff. I tend to go low quite a bit. And if I am low, it's kind of like if Teddy doesn't catch it, it'll be quite severe. I know I've been in the 20s 3 or 4 times since I've been in college, which is not good. But I don't day to day, like my average days, I'd probably say I'm between 70 and 180. I don't think there's like too much between every days, but there's been like outlier days that have been kind of scary.
Would you be interested in picking through that for a minute with me, or do you not care? Like about the lows?
Go for it.
Okay. So here's what I would say. If you are experiencing lows that are happening after meals, but your blood sugar is not going much over 180, then my question would be to you, how soon before you eat do you pre-bolus, or do you not?
I don't generally pre-bolus. I've tried to incorporate that. I just don't eat on a reliable schedule enough to do that, and I don't decide to eat until I'm eating generally. And those episodes that I was talking about weren't really after meals.
They were different times.
Yeah, it was kind of like late at night studying that I just bottomed out. Probably stress more than anything else affecting that.
So that's incredibly interesting because I was messaging with another person last night whose blood sugar was going up while they were studying in college. So, so is it possible that when you're really sitting down and hunkered down and studying for long periods of time, that you forget to eat while you're doing that?
Oh, most certainly.
That happens, right? And then
yes.
You sort of forget about diabetes.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Yes. And I will tell you that I'm quite the opposite every time, like when people get sick, they usually go high. I always drop low, no matter what. I'm always low when I'm sick.
Yeah.
So when I'm stressed out, I go really low. And I've talked to other people who've said they always go high. So.
And that's something. Yeah. But you were saying that when you got adrenaline, when you were running, your blood sugar would go up, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you're just a conundrum.
Yes.
Arden, when Arden is sick, not like. Well, I guess sick in general. She doesn't get ill that often, but when she does, her blood sugar definitely stays on the lower side during that time. It feels like free food days.
Yeah.
Of course, the joke is you're not that hungry because you're sick.
No.
Okay, so because what I would say is that any really kind of crazy lows that you can't figure out, right? Like, you seem like you figured out what those lows came from. There's extended amounts of time where you just kind of stop thinking about diabetes, probably didn't eat as enough, and bang, you start getting low. And you're not wearing a glucose monitor. So if you're drifting low, that's not going to make Teddy say something, right? Like if you're going down like 2 points every 20 minutes.
No, he won't alert to that.
He's not going to alert to that. And then all of a sudden you're going to hit an actual low and maybe then start falling. And then he's going to be like, hey, lady. And by then you're where you're at.
Yes.
I always think of it as most times, like you said, not all the time, but as an unbalancing of insulin. Like at some point you have insulin that's active and there's nothing, whether it's food, carbs, or body function, to hold up that, to combat that insulin, I guess, for the lack of a better word. So my thought was, if you're not pre-bolusing, but you're not spiking crazy,
right,
then you're putting enough insulin up front to stop that spike, but it's then becomes unbalanced when later the foods through your system doesn't need the insulin anymore, but your insulin's still behind. It still remains. And right. And then you get, all that's left is the insulin in your body. Right. And so by putting it in a little sooner, you not only stop the spike, but you create a balance where the insulin's not so left over by itself at the end. So even if you could put in the tiniest bit of insulin a couple minutes sooner, like it takes away from how much you have to use in the moment.
Yeah.
But anyway.
The times that I've tried pre-bolusing, I've done partial boluses to where I knew I was going to eat at least 35 carbs. So I put in like a unit or two.
Right. And that works out? I'm a big fan of that, actually. I love that idea. Okay. All right. So 38 minutes and 55 seconds later, I forget why you wanted to be on the podcast. Can you tell me, please? Before I get into the Omnipod ad proper, let me tell you that if you're using the Omnipod Dash, Omnipod has just released companion apps for the Dash. That's right, Omnipod Display and Omnipod View apps are now available for iOS in the App Store. Go check them out. The rest of this ad, of course, is for the rest of you who are still considering getting an Omnipod. I absolutely maintain that the best way to decide if Omnipod is right for you is to try a pod experience kit. Let them send you a free, no-obligation demo of the Omnipod. This way you can wear it or put it on your child and see what you think. After that, it's a simple process to continue on and get your Omnipod if you decide you like it. And if you don't want to, it's no big deal. Omnipod's not going to bug you or pressure you. It's completely up to you. What you want to do is go to myomnipod.com/juicebox, fill in the tiniest bit of information, and this is going to get the process started for you. It's very simple. Again, there's no cost and no obligation. There really is nothing to lose. Once you get an Omnipod and you start wearing it, I think you're going to find that the freeing nature of no tubing and not having to carry a device on you is going to be amazing. Additionally, those of you coming from MDI are going to find incredible freedom in being able to temp basal, extend your boluses, and just do all the other terrific things that Omnipod allows. It would be hard for me to quantify the impact that Omnipod has had on my daughter's life, but it is immense, and I think it could help you too. Don't wait another second. myomnipod.com/juicebox, with links in your show notes and at juiceboxpodcast.com.
I started listening to you, and I just really loved what you were doing, and I wanted to be a part of it.
That's so nice. And so do you fall more on the side? I find that people either really enjoy the podcast because of the management stuff, or they really enjoy the community aspect, or they just love hearing other people who have diabetes because they don't have that. What part of it really kind of grabbed you?
I love being a part of the diabetes community. I don't know very many diabetics in my real life, I guess you'd say. So I love being a part of the online community and things like that.
How do you do that? Is it on Instagram?
I do a lot on Instagram, yes.
Yeah. Well, you got the cute dog and you're younger, so I guess Instagram.
Well, I mainly look and follow people. I don't really do much of my own stuff.
Oh, no kidding. So you're more of that's great. So you just sort of get your, I guess, information or inspiration from the other people who are sharing, but you're not out there creating your content.
Right.
Good for and is this your first try into finding community online, or have you done other things in the past?
This is the first time I've ever been active myself, with talking with you. But I've read a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook and things like that for quite a while.
But this is the first. So right now, the thing we're doing now, where I'm making fun of your parents for having so much sex and being tired and all this stuff, this is the first thing you've done?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I would have been nicer had I known that.
It's all right.
So funny. And you just wanted to do that because you enjoyed the podcast and you wanted to add to it.
Yes.
Well, I'm very touched by that. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a little less touched by it because you're so incredibly nice that it seems to me like obvious that you were going to do something nice after you had this experience, but still, I'm very touched.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
No. I'm being... My Northeast sarcasm isn't allowing it to come through. But I really mean that. Like, that's wonderful to think that something impacted you that way, that took you from a spot of like inactivity about, sharing to actually wanting to share. Do you have something specific you wish the world knew?
Not really. I'd like to encourage parents your kids will be okay. My mom raised me in tight control of my diabetes, and I don't hate her. I love her for it. So there's right ways and wrong ways to do things. Like, my mom never told me no when I asked. Like, when I asked for a cookie, she didn't tell me no. She'd say, yes, you can have one. Just go run 5 laps around the house.
Yeah. I'd say sometimes, I say to Arden, like, just pre-bolus, and then she's like, oh. And I'm like, shut up. By the time you go get the food and get back to where you're sitting and do all that stuff, like, just push the buttons now. But I think your message is incredibly important, because I will do that too. I probably don't seem like, from this podcast, somebody who would do that, but I would. If I was having trouble with Arden's blood sugar, if it was stuck somewhere, 160, 180, and I couldn't get it to move, but she said she was hungry, I wouldn't stop her from eating. Yeah. I might bolus like, a bazooka's worth of insulin, but I'm very frightened to cause a food issue with Arden.
Yeah.
I very much don't want to do that. I'd rather see her blood sugar be higher than I want it to be than for her to have an adversarial relationship with food.
Yeah.
Or with her diabetes, to be perfectly honest, right? For her to think of this diabetes as, the reason why she can't eat. I'm now an extension of that if I'm the one saying no. Now I'm hurting our relationship. I'm hurting how she feels about, diabetes, which is going to be with her for, forever. Yeah. And then she hates food. Now I've got an angry, non-compliant, which I know everybody hates that word, but now one day I'll have an angry, non-compliant kid with a eating disorder, right? Like, right, because I just couldn't be like, all right, fine, let your blood sugar be high this one time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's amazing. Also, your mother was raising an incredibly kind person, so, which I don't think you can give her complete. Is your mother this nice?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, all right, so maybe it is her. I was going to say, maybe this isn't genetic. Maybe you're just like the anomaly. How about anybody else? Any of the siblings?
Yes.
You said the middle one's a problem, right?
He's just he has a lot of energy. He's very funny, but he's very well behaved and very, very kind-hearted as well.
See, Caroline, I just realized as I said that, your expectation of what a handful would be compared to mine, like, I was thinking, what's he, steal cars or something like that?
No,
like,
no.
He's just got a little bit of energy.
No, he's literally the clerk of our church. No.
So not a car thief, you're saying?
No, not a car thief.
That you know of.
Oh, well.
I mean, if he was a car thief, would he be running around telling people?
Probably not.
I don't think so either. I think you're onto something. The kids steal. Okay.
Well, no.
And you're not, listen, let me just be clear. You're not afraid of something, right? Like, the church hasn't, like, threatened you with, like, an eternal damnation or anything like that?
No,
the reason you're...
No.
No one's forcing you to tell you this. That's correct? You are not...
Correct.
These are your own thoughts.
My own thoughts.
Wow, yes. No kidding. I should be in South Carolina, except the humidity's terrible, right?
Well, that's something you can deal with. There's always nice people.
How do you deal with humidity?
You just tie your hair back. You don't wear it down a lot, which probably is not a problem for you, but for the girls, you just tie your hair back. Everybody's dealing with it, so. You
don't even hide inside? Like, there's no, like...
I don't know.
2-month period where you just never get out of your house or anything like that?
No, that's when you're in the pool, so it's just like you're in the pool and you don't really worry about the humidity. You're already wet.
The humidity doesn't matter if you're in the pool.
Right. Correct.
Oh, that's genius. I want to know, I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but how do you plan on being a doctor if you don't particularly like technology?
Well, I just don't like it for myself. I can do it with other people.
Okay.
I guess.
Oh, okay. So you don't have a problem, like, if you're using, like, something in a hospital and it's
No.
quirky, you're not going to be like, oh, forget this. We'll get a seeing helpy dog instead.
Oh.
But those words, all the words that I needed to say what I wanted to say left my brain at the same time.
No, I can work with technology. I just, for myself, I would rather trust not technology.
No, I hear you. I really do. I say it here a lot, but I feel very much the same way. Like, I want something to come out of the box, do what it says it's going to do.
Yes.
I'm not looking to make an adjustment to it. I don't want to download something. I don't want to have to learn something. I just want to push the button and make the magic. That's what I'm looking for. But if I said to you, Caroline, go ahead and get a CGM, it's going to be fine. Would you believe me? I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, would you believe me?
I might.
You might.
I'm listening to your podcast. If I would have listened to it 2 years ago before I got Teddy, I probably would have had more pros on my list for the CGM. And like I said, I don't picture myself with a dog, and I don't picture myself with another dog after him. So it might be a CGM for me
after his warranty expires.
Yeah.
Which is now how I'm going to start talking about older people in my life. Like, when their warranty expires, I wonder what we're going to do. So, do you think it'll be an open casket warranty expiring, or maybe a cremation warranty expiring? It's such a nicer way of saying it. Well, it's not really. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing. I can't believe of all the nice things you've said here, you've said warranty expiring.
I know.
Yeah, in relationship to your beautiful dog. I mean, he really is gorgeous. He has a face that is like talking to me.
It is. He's so sweet.
Yeah. And nobody at school, nothing. Nobody's ever looked at you and been like, look, you with this dog, come on. It's no pushback? In
college, no. In high school, yes. I did not have a great senior year with Teddy.
Because the school was uncomfortable, or the kids were?
The people, like the faculty and stuff. I just had a problem with maybe a handful of kids who are like just bullies. So
people, it's easy to say people suck. It's not true. But a lot of them are pretty sucky. But not all of them.
I had a wonderful school district, like for most of my education. In my second and third grade years were not great. People didn't want to cooperate with my 504. But after that, I mean, my high school nurse was amazing. Yeah. But just a handful of bad apples.
How'd you deal with that when somebody was giving you, I don't know what to say, when people were being like bullying towards you about Teddy in high school? Like, how do you handle that on a personal level, like psychologically? What do you do?
Well, some people just, it would be like one or two comments and they were done. But this one person in particular, it was relentless. And I was best friends with the nurse and the SRO, which is like the student resource officer. And so I told them about it, and he had to go to bully counseling, which sounds like really awful. But yeah, and so it kind of stopped after that.
But it didn't stick to you personally? You didn't feel bad about yourself, or like you didn't do a woe is me thing, or the stupid diabetes, look what it put me through? You didn't have any of those feelings?
A little bit, but not any lingering feelings. I tend to look on the bright side of things.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your blood while you're sleeping and put it in me and see if it makes me feel that way about things, because you might have the secret to life in there somewhere. Being serious. It really... Yeah, we're going to come to your room and take your blood later. Are you at school right now? Please give us your address.
No, I'm on spring break, so I'm not at school.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
What are your plans for... Are you doing anything, or are you just home?
Well, I'm actually a part of the Choir Leaders, which is the choir at my school, and we went to Disney World this weekend, and then I went from Florida to Erskine in Due West, South Carolina, which is absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And then went to my home, and then we went to Charlotte, and we're leaving Charlotte today to go to Charleston. So, a lot of travel.
I'm headed to Florida in a couple of days myself.
Ooh.
My son's going on his spring break for college, and he's on the baseball team. So we're going to go watch him play baseball where it's warm, because right now it's like 23 degrees where I'm at.
Yeah. It's really warm in Florida. It was very nice.
Mm-hmm. I will take some of that. And there'll be no humidity because it's March. Is it March? January, February, March?
It is.
I'm not good with the months. But I was saying to my wife the other night, I'm like, we have to move somewhere. Like, it needs to be warm, but not humid. Which then popped in my head immediately, like northern Texas, right? Like, am I right? I don't know about that. I've never been there. I'm just willing to move there if it's warm, doesn't get too cold in the winter, and doesn't get humid.
Well, South Carolina doesn't get too cold in the winter, but just spend your summers in the pool and you won't worry about humidity.
Don't you get hit with like hurricanes sometimes?
Sometimes. Yeah. More recently in the past couple years, but my childhood, I didn't ever remember anything like that.
So I have never made a pro and con list in my life, but if I were to make one, I'm going to put hurricanes on the con side. And
yeah, they generally talk them up more than they are.
It just looks wet. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, windy and wet, I'm already out. Now, Texas, like, I don't know. Like, are there going to be, like, giant spiders, like, the ones you find in, like, Saudi Arabia there? Or, I don't know. You can tell I don't get away from home very often. So
maybe North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it snow there sometimes.
Yeah.
I never want to see snow again. That's my goal.
Oh, I love the snow.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice and all, but... I'm done. Like, I walked outside today, just before you and I got on. I was like, oh, let me take the dogs out first, and so they can be nice and comfortable while I'm talking to Caroline. And and then they just didn't feel like coming back in right away. And I had to walk 6 feet out my door to get them, and thought I was going to die. So I was just standing in the frigid cold, had a coat on, begging the dogs. I look at them and I think, I know you don't speak English, because I say one of the dogs' names and they both look. Now, if they really knew their names, wouldn't one of them not look up when they heard the other's name, is my contention, right? So now I'm like, guys, come on, come on. And by the time it's over, Caroline, this is me. I'm like, come on, get in the house, please. You're killing. Now I'm yelling in my backyard. You're killing me. Why are you trying to kill me? Get in the house, please. Please. Then one of them looks up and goes, oh, look at that poor guy. I'll go in. And he starts wandering in. Then I think, oh, the other one will like see that happening and no, that doesn't happen. Then the begging starts over for the other one. And you're like, come on, please. Then they get in the house and I stand there for a couple of seconds and I take a deep breath. And I remember the happiest day of my life. It was the day right before we got dogs. And I didn't have to take them outside in the freezing cold. Now, if it was warm outside, I wouldn't have felt like that.
Right.
Right. So I'm thinking northern Texas.
My largest experience with snow, it was like maybe 3 inches on the ground. So.
Oh, so you've never seen snow?
I've seen snow. 3 inches of it.
You've never really seen snow until you looked outside and thought, if I shovel this once an hour for 24 hours, maybe we'll be able to get out of this house.
Oh my gosh.
That's the feel. And that happens sometimes where you're just like, you go outside, clear off an entire like pathway, your driveway, whatever it is. And by the time you get inside and can feel like the tips of your toes again, it's time to shovel again.
No, I've never experienced that.
Have you ever looked up and wind hit you in the face and it made you not able to breathe?
I can't say that I have.
Yeah. So I don't really think we need your input on this snow thing, right, okay. Caroline? I think we found something where we think maybe you don't know what you're talking about. So the cold sucks, Caroline. Okay, and anybody who can live in the snow is weird or has been brainwashed, and there I've said it. Okay, so all of you people up in the Northeast, like even higher than me, are like, I live in Minnesota. I'm like, shut up. Okay, we all wish we lived somewhere warmer. Don't lie. That's my contention. I'm sticking to it right now. Okay, so you go answer a couple questions for me. When you're away at college, how often do you see the endocrinologist? Just when you come home, or do you do something there?
Every 3 months still.
Do you have to come home to do that, or do you accomplish that at school?
I have to come home for that. It's about 3 hours.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so you actually you make an allotment for that. You drive home, see the endo. Do you actually go in and say, hey, here's what's going on in my life. Can you help me make adjustments? Or where are you at after this many years with diabetes?
So I just got kicked out of my pediatrics endocrinology office, and it was really sad. So I've only seen my adult endocrinologist once, actually. Mm-hmm. And I saw her over Christmas break. So I was really nervous going into that because I've not heard good things about adult endos, just because they're mainly type 2 focused and other things and aren't really concerned about juvenile diabetes. So I went in and I didn't even get a physical exam, and that was really off-putting for me. And she was impressed. Like, she asked me to change a basal rate, and I changed it in like 5 seconds. And she was waiting for me to hand my pump over to her, and I was like, "No, ma'am, I can do this myself." And she was like, "Oh, wow, I'm so impressed, like how adept you are with that." And I was like, "Are we in the right office? Like, what is this?"
That's a problem for you.
So, I haven't really been too impressed with them so far. I was expecting a lot more than I got. So
I would think that it's very telling about the state of how some doctors talk to people, that the ability to take your pump and change your basal rate was like life-changing for her.
Yeah.
I think it's possible that everyone who goes and sees her is in trouble. Because that really, and by the way, unless you're 5 minutes into this, if you don't know how to change your basal rates by now, please go into the manual and figure out how to do it. You should have a little more control. You shouldn't be waiting every 3 months to hand your pump back to somebody and go, "Oh, great and powerful Oz, can you please show me how to make my basal rate lower or higher," or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. That's not good. Plus, now you have to write 2 endocrinologists, which is going to eat up more of your free time.
Well, I don't know if I'll write her.
Oh, excellent.
I've only seen her once. So.
What about the one you just left, though, the pediatric one?
Oh, yeah, I don't know her address. I really liked her as well.
But not enough to write. Interesting.
I don't know her at. She moved to Charlotte, and I'm in Charlotte. Maybe I could track her down. I don't know.
Scream out the window until somebody arrests you, or if she finds you.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a crazy person yelling their doctor's name. And then when they find you and they realize you just wanted to find her address so that you could write her a nice
take me to the doctor. They might think it's a psychologist or something.
I hear what you're getting at. All right. So when you finish this schooling up in 3 years, you're going to have to go on to medical school.
Right.
Do you have goals for what place that is, or are you going to go with whoever takes you in? Or
realistically, whoever takes me in, my ultimate dream would be Oxford. I don't think that's very attainable, but I do have a picture taped of Oxford taped to my wall, just because it's gorgeous there, and I just love London and Europe.
And a darn good goal to have too. And I think it's funny. It's funny you said that as we're approaching an hour. I just got done saying to my daughter and one of her friends the other night that you'd be surprised that just wanting something and working towards it is most of it. Is most of getting to it. I mean, I think I said to her at the time, like, don't get me wrong. Like, you can't just, want to be a brain surgeon. It's not like, you can't have your vision wall and not know algebra and say, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. I swear to God, I've got 3 pictures taped up on my wall about it. But I mean, things that fit you and are obtainable, getting to those things is mostly just the decision to do it. It really is. Like, I can sit around and josh around about, wanting to live in North Texas, which I don't know if I want to or don't. But make no mistake, I could put my house up on the market, find a job, and move. We could do that. So I'm a big fan of going after things. I don't think you can't go to Oxford. I don't see why that would be. Unless you're dumb.
I hope not.
You really don't seem like you are. I don't think you're hanging on by a thread in your biology major is what I'm saying.
No, I graduated top 16 of my high school class. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. I was glad that my high school did not rate us because I was afraid of where. No, I didn't know. Or maybe I just ignored it because I was scared to find out. I forget, it was a really long time ago. But I got a diploma like everybody else. So I'm just the smartest person there. My mom told me. It's fine.
Yeah. That was a big deal at our high school, what your ranking was. Yeah. I think I was 14.
Wow. That's pretty great. How many kids were there? Not 15, right? Or more?
No. Around 200, I believe.
Wow. That is really impressive.
My sister was like 6. So
ruining
not
everything.
As impressive when you know that.
Well, she didn't have diabetes.
Well, no.
There's a lot she didn't have to do. And plus, nobody was giving her, a problem about her dog in her senior year too. You were clearly deserved 10 points just for the other things you have to accomplish. Caroline, you are absolutely delightful. I'm incredibly happy that you decided to make this podcast your first kind of foray into sharing with the.
I'm very glad you had me.
Are you kidding me? How could I not? I didn't even know all the amazing things about you, and you still seemed amazing when we were talking originally. So I'm right in on this. Have we forgotten? Is there anything you want to say that I haven't thought to ask you about?
Just to get a 504 for your kid if you don't have one. Like for schooling and stuff, 504s are very important. I relied on that heavily.
Yep, I agree. I think
changed my life.
I think that having it in writing is important, but I think what's more important is the overall feeling that the school has once it's in writing that they have to do what's in there. It doesn't have to be an adversarial conversation. You don't have to be in a fight, but it is helpful for them to feel like, oh, we have to do this, because I'm telling you, otherwise it falls out of people's heads. They don't do what they're supposed to do. When you actually really need something badly, they have a lot of leeway to tell you no if you don't have a 504 plan. So yeah, if you don't know what a 504 plan is, figure it out. There's an episode about it in the podcast. There's my Arden's 504. It's available to download on my blog. But yeah, take it from somebody who knows. Caroline knows. Having a good 504 plan make your life a lot easier. And do you have one still at college?
It's not called a 504. It's called academic accommodations. And they're a little bit different. It's not, you don't get as much, but I do have them.
Cool. I mean, it gets you like a bigger room for your dog, right? That kind of stuff.
That was just
common
of the
sense.
draw.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I was not friends, but I talked with the resident director over the summer and things like that. So
putting a little extra effort in to make sure the things were going to go your way.
Yes.
Boy, there's a lesson in that too. Don't just sit back and hope, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, seriously. A lot of people do. A lot of people go, this will work out. Then it doesn't work out. They're like, can you believe this?
You got to put effort into that.
Yeah. I saw somebody complaining online the other day. They're like, I think they ordered pump supplies or CGM supplies or something like that. And they're like, I've been waiting for a month and they didn't show up. And so finally I called and I said, where's my stuff? And they said, oh, we had to cancel that order. And this person's like ranting and raving about the company. And this is so blah, blah, but they didn't get the prescription done correctly. So the person got a prescription, sent it to the company. It wasn't the correct prescription. The company probably should have gotten back to them sooner and said, hey, by the way, your prescription's not right. But just, sat around, didn't do anything about it. And then once they ran out of their supplies, we're like, this is your fault. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you gotta be a little involved, don't you? You know, like a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I like that idea. I like the idea of you like getting out ahead of it and trying to, saying, look, I'm going to need a bigger space. And who do I talk to make that happen? You are way mature.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, tell your parents I said good job, because seriously, even if your other 4 brothers and sisters are just complete losers, you're such a win that, I mean, I think they still won. Do you think, and I'm going to ask this question before we go, and I think I know what you're going to say, but are you your parents' favorite, or do they have a favorite?
Okay, that's the question. That's the question. So they do not claim to have favorites, but all of my sisters have decided that it's my brother.
The one in the middle?
Yes.
For not being a twin, they feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loves him. Like when you meet him, you just immediately love him. So it's like understandable. Yeah.
I don't like this. I think this is unfair. I think you obviously should be the favorite. I mean, I haven't spoken to the other 4 yet, but you're my odds-on bet.
They're gems. I'll tell you, they're gems.
Oh, please. You had me back when you said you would eat celery. I was like any kid who's like, I'm hungry, but my blood sugar's so celery, and didn't complain. I'm going to need a signed affidavit from your mother saying that you didn't complain about the celery.
I will get that for you.
Thank you very much. I really
desire that.
I really appreciate you coming on and doing this, Caroline. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caroline, for coming on the show and sharing your life with type 1 diabetes with everyone. Thank you also to Omnipod, Dexcom, and Dancing for Diabetes for being sponsors. Again, go to myomnipod.com/juicebox, dexcom.com/juicebox, or dancing4diabetes.com to find out more. I've also put links right in the player, right in your podcast player there in the show notes, and at juiceboxpodcast.com. It seems like the first of you who ordered new Juicebox Podcast merchandise have started to receive it. I'm starting to see pictures online. Thank you very much for doing it. Anyone else who's interested can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and just scroll down to merch. Lots of good stuff to choose from. Last thing, the giveaway celebrating 1 million downloads of the podcast is still going on. You can still enter absolutely for free with nothing to do. You just click to enter. It's again at juiceboxpodcast.com. Just scroll down until you see the giveaway banner and click on it. There's over 1,500 entries right now. You can enter up until August 31st, 8:59 p.m. Pacific time, it looks like. No, wait, Eastern time. That would be midnight Eastern time. Okay, August 31st, 2019 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time is the last time you can enter. There's some really good stuff here. Bunch of swag and giveaway stuff. One great item from myabetic.com, some Bold with Insulin t-shirts. There's a lot. Go check the whole thing out. You'll see what's there.